And some people get really angry about it and have silenced me and what have you and banned me because I was just inquiring about these things that are anomalies, or maybe they're not. Maybe somebody could explain and say, no, look at it like this, and I think about it and think, okay, I've got to shift the way I think about things and see things and understand things. And that's great. That's the benefit of it, is to have those things at the end of the day of an expanded knowledge, expanded awareness, greater consciousness. I thought that was the point, really, but seemingly not. Seemingly not.
Well, maybe not for some, in some ways, but yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about in the end. I mean, if you can be okay to not knowing everything, then it puts you in a position of being open to knowing what is, and having that courage, I think, at times to just be okay with not knowing, to then get to what is. Because otherwise, if you jump on something prematurely, then you may not actually be getting to truth. Potentially, I'm not saying you. Obviously, I'm just saying in general. If people just leap to just kind of accepting something either from an authority or something like that, they could kind of give it away too quickly. And if they do that or taking that kind of leap, it could not be the truth. So just that idea of just being okay with not knowing and then just continually accepting new information until the larger picture comes together. And then, yeah, being able to advance like that and grow and learn seems like, in a way, it's like the fuel of life at some foundational level.
I just guess, it's kind of found that the control was closer to home. It was actually still amongst the people who were saying, watch out for those controlling us on the outside, the bigger they. I then found that there were people within the group who are the they too. They're just repeating some thing that you must repeat. If you don't repeat it, then you're silenced. If you don't agree, if you don't say it must be this way.
The clocks are facing the same way.
In India,
is the flat Earth game that I just put in the chat.
Impossible to explain.
Well, we can see the sky. What we need to do is map out the ground and how it links to the sky independently outside of these sort of government authorities and militaries that are claiming what they're claiming, and then we'll have a lot more information.
I'm guessing. Would you think that would be like a pacifier for flat earthers? Do you think? Like, subconsciously, could they take away from watching that video about them saying it's an impossible west to east sun, but then while picturing what seems to be that impossible sun into their thing? I mean, if they didn't notice it, or if somebody were to watch that but not notice, do you think it might sort of slip in that it's at least possible? Like a magic trick. Sneaks in through the subconscious.
Well, if you have a generally level, horizontal, like I do use that. I could use that word planar. I'm fine with using it for myself. But anyways, just that generally planar. When you have a sky above, you could have anything in the sky above. Meaning you could have a huge television screen up there, and it could be projecting anything. Now, I'm not saying the sky is a huge television screen. I'm just saying above a planar surface, there's really nothing that's out of possibilities of what could be above that. Now, I'm not trying to say that just, anything's possible. I'm just stating that the only one that has those limitations is actually the mainstream globe model, because they have a spatial relationship between the sun and the earth, and it's all out there in outer space, light years away. That all has to line up. But over a planar surface, there's nothing that's falsified that could be above a surface, because it's like two separate reference frames in a way. You're down on the ground and you're observing the sky above. It's two separate. Whereas on the globe, they're interrelated by distance and, balls in space.
And in reality, there's no actual way to explain the impossible.
Like for
I don't
instance,
think the sky is impossible at all. I just don't think we know the full map the correct map yet.
TV screen wouldn't explain 2 points of rotation, though, would it?
Well, you
It
could
would
put
still be impossible with a TV screen there.
no in the analogy. You could put 2 points of rotation on the TV screen, no problem. In the analogy,
But I don't. All year I can watch the sun come from generally the same place and end up in generally the same place, and I would always turn in the same direction as I'm doing it all the time. I would never go the opposite way. I mean, whether it be me not seeing through water skies or whatever in this thing, but it would never appear and go the other way round.
well, it does when in the south. You have to go to the south to see it, though. It arcs the other way in the south, like the arc and the anti-arc, the Arctic, Antarctic. It goes the other way, but you have to go to the south to see that. But yeah, it just does the mirror reverse.
That's what we're trying to understand and see if it can be
It goes
explained.
the other way when it's not here, because when it's here, it's going this way round, right? So when it's not here, is that the part that it goes the other way round? When does that occur? Because in the 6 months where it changes rotation, it doesn't change rotation here.
What's happening in your I guess for you, or if you're in like somewhere in the north, when it's like winter time for you and you're seeing the sun very low on your horizon, it's rising very south of east and sets very south of west. Way making that low arc, and then it's winter time. It's very cold. The days are shorter. At that time, it's doing a 24-hour sun at Union Glacier in Antarctica. You're just only seeing the one little shallow angle of the cycle, and that's why it's a very short day, and it rises south of east, sets south of west, because you're only seeing that one little part of its circuit.
So, do you want to respond to that, sorry?
Riksky?
I just want to make sure that I'm not butting in, like, as Gio's just made a point.
What did
if you want to
you
respond
think
to
of the
it,
video you watched? Did you?
Well, I've got it up here. I'm kind of looking at it. So
Yeah, but
I've got the share screen wrong. So do you want to jump on the share screen and like point out what the problem is?
Oh, go on then. Let's see what you've concluded.
I just want to hear your description. I don't know. Yeah. I'll get rid of that.
Clockwise.
Hang on a sec. Right, go on, talk us through it.
I'm trying to work out what you're saying about what the problem is. You think it's going in the opposite direction.
Right,
What I think curious, right, is that from Vernadsky, what's interesting is as you move further south, you can actually just see the sun right over the side of the sky, apparently.
Yeah,
so as you go, you want to play it.
There you go. See that? So
Yeah, play.
clockwise, right?
Cool, clockwise.
Yeah. Go to the other clip at the other end.
The what, sorry?
20,
Go to the clip at the other end.
55.
Okay.
25, 55.
Yeah, I don't think running the sun like west to east really solves anything. You have to circle it in the south. It needs to make a full.
Let's watch a video.
What direction is that sun going there?
Yeah, that doesn't solve that because that's not what it does in Antarctica. So I'm not sure what that solves, if anything. I don't even know what the context is in the video, but what is he saying that is in the video? I'd have to listen to the whole thing and see what his audio is.
He doesn't say anything. He just lets people know that the sun goes in the opposite, because that is the opposite, right? You would have to say that's the opposite direction in what the sun was just going earlier.
I reckon that's a wrong.
Of the video.
I think he's animated it incorrectly because the east coast of Australia where I'm at is lit up first. Like I'm talking to guys over in Perth that 2 or 3 hours behind.
But you do watch it coming from the right to the left, though, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, for sure. I think he made a mistake. I'll go watch more of it to see, because I would say that this is a mistake in the animation or something potentially.
Yeah, I mean it could be classed as misinformation, right? I mean, there's a lot of people watch this, and there doesn't seem to be anybody who's noticed the fact that the sun goes in different directions in his video.
Yeah, but is he? I got to hear what he's saying, obviously, so I may as well go listen to it. But is he saying that those parts of like it looks like he's got pointed dots there at positions in the AE maps interpretation of the south, right? Is he saying that they light up in that direction? Like, has he got the figures to say that that's where the sun rises from right to left according to the rising times of those particular places?
So you'll have to watch the video. There's a lot of people who just want to field questions. He's not asking me.
Is it reasonable to consider though that it may actually be a misanimation? Like he's made a mistake during the animation processing of the video?
That's what Jaren saw, isn't it? That Jaren saw the sun circling anti-clockwise.
No.
Yeah,
I think he did.
He told us about it. It's been known about for a long time.
This guy's trying to explain how it could happen, that he's changed the rotation of the sun in order to do that.
The sun,
think
if you're in the south,
loopy or something. Like, I actually don't know what your problem is.
You don't like rotations, do you? We know that. Counterclockwise.
This
Clockwise is
accusation
like,
of lying, and you know my personality, just cease with it.
you can't see that. Can't you see that on that video you just watched, that the sun is going in two different directions, opposing directions, from one clip to another? Just that. Not any other kind of rise in here or set in there or where you see it from the outside or not wanting to say counterclockwise or anti-clockwise. All you said, it could be a misanimation. He got it wrong. That's
I'll get
the only thing
before I
I'm
speak
saying
anymore,
here.
because everything I say you will hold against me, so I'm not even going to speculate around it.
You get away and watching them.
Jeez, dude.
yeah, that's not the correct motion. So even if you take an AE map like that, if you're in the south on that outer sort of icy area and you're looking north, the sun moves from right to left. So that would be on the AE map clockwise. So that even if you want to try to take these two models as ideas, the sun would be coming clockwise right to left. The difference is, instead of going around the AE map, that way, the sun has to, after it goes right to left, then it has to loop around you behind, and that's the difference, circuit around you. But it's still right to left. It would never be left to right the way that shows on the AE map going west to east.
Right to left. Is that, I'm pretty sure that's why Nathan Oakley has antipodal planes with his hemispheres. He makes them antipodal. It's all about fitting these geometric concepts into your mind, isn't it? And these sun circles are the key to that geometric, logical understanding, I guess.
It's what you represented this morning, Geo, too. This antipodal circles in the models. You said you're not saying that is how it is, but all the kind of images you presented are this counter-rotating circles to explain it on a planar Earth, or a figure of 8 that doesn't show a figure of 8 and no point of crossover, and two circles of planar Earth that are derived from two different points of rotation that somehow can't meet anywhere.
Well, there's just two things. There's the sky and the ground. So we can observe the sky, look at it. How's it moving? What does it look like? And then we can, measure the ground, and we can study the ground. How they relate.
How you describe the ground, though, in your images. You described the ground from the sky, didn't you? And then represented it on the ground, and saying this is the planar representation of it from the sky, looking at the sky, measuring angles.
Yeah, that's what the graticule is.
The perpendicular.
No, the graticule. How the latitude and longitude on the ground links to the right ascension declination in the sky.
Perpendicular. Graticule is the relationship of those two lines perpendicular to one another.
Yeah, they never had any issues mapping the stars before the globe model. There were never any conflicts. No issues, no glaring problems that they claim you can't do it, can't work. Well, they didn't have an issue with that for all the time before the globe model was even pushed into the ideas of people.
Why do you think the globe model came about?
Well, that's a good question.
Possible impossibilities of the sun circles in the skies, you reckon? You reckon they went to a place and went, hey, wait a minute, isn't that sun going the other way round? How do you work that out then? Could that be the genesis of globe? The impossibilities?
No, I don't think so. But it's related to their model because they use the celestial sphere in their model.
The lights in the sky.
Yeah, it's the basis for. They use the celestial sphere and then manipulate it and massage it. Well,
the astronomers.
The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which is a United States intelligence agency closely related to the CIA and the FBI, they're the ones that publish the WGS-84. So, I mean, that's kind of the official coordinate for what they say we live on.
So that's the they that you keep speaking about.
Well, that part of it would be, yeah. But I mean, the mainstream model that we live on a spherical surface, yeah, the whole heliocentric globe model. That's not only pushed by the governments, but all the schools and everything right now.
And you. Because you also talk about all of those sort of things as well, don't you? In fact, I've never heard that from them, but I've heard it from you. So you're like a mouthpiece, spokesperson. Because it's convenient, because you can say that they say it, when in actual fact it's you saying it.
No idea what you're talking about, Bev, but when you steelman a model, that's what you're doing. So if you're describing what like the mainstream model of the world, of course I'm aware of it. I went to education. I went through education systems. It is a false model, the globe Earth model. However, it's very important to be knowledgeable and aware of what's being claimed out there and understand and be able to steelman what is being told to the populace right now through the education system, through the political system, all of that, the nature of, the Earth ultimately, and the geometry and all of that. And I mean, I know you're well aware of it. So,
I mean, the most I've learned about the globe came from flat earthers.
there you go.
Any of this stuff until the flat earthers told me that's how it is.
Okay.
But they have another. They have a solution to it because they have another model. Well, they can't say it's the model, but they do have another model that they want me to take on.
Okay, you could talk to them, I guess. But I hear you. Yeah, I mean, if possible, I would prefer to never even talk about models that are false. But the fact that there's a model of the entire Earth that's being pushed by the mainstream system kind of means that in order to be aware of the current intellectual understanding of it, you have to be aware of it.
Yeah, I've been doing that, asking them. I know ask them.
But I mean, what I'm referring to in general is not really anything different. I mean, basically, all I was saying is that planetariums are built when you have an azimuthal foundation, a planar foundation, and then the stars around. Planetariums have been built like that since the dawn of time, with a geocentric planar foundational Earth. The ancients have all their systems based on that in terms of their understanding of it. So it's just how the geometry has been pulled from that and then put into the current model that they claim that Earth being an actual sphere. So it's just sort of the nature of how they inverted the geometries.
I guess I just find, if you come, if you making your journey into this topic and you come across the video, the Scam thing, you don't know much, you don't like question things, you could easily be misled into a false idea of reality. A lot of people, I guess, do that, repeat that in a very almost religious sense of belief, I guess. They don't really know.
Well, I haven't been to. I've never been to Antarctica, let alone verifying sun dates, sunrise and sets. Certainly interesting to look at data that's given, but I have not been there, let alone studying in any independent way the sunrise or sunset angles in any way. So all that is remote data that can be looked at and perused through, but without being able to verify it, it has a great limitation to what it can offer. Just on the nature of what it is. But it's still good to look at things like that, but you'd have to verify the data to really have it be useful. And know exactly where you are and distances and all that. I think there's a lot hidden in Antarctica, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think anything is actually hidden in Antarctica. I think it's highly accessible, and I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Yeah, dude, just get in the kayak, head on over.
I don't think anybody's complaining.
Highly
Pointing out
accessible.
that there's certain people who are making videos with what it looks like misinformation, even, But I mean, it's flat Earth, right? I mean, there could be some people that can try and justify it with the AE map, or, Gleason's or whatever. Because they still think that's an actual map. It's like trying to find a solution to an impossibility. I mean, it might get you in the science history books or something. You never know. Might become the next Einstein or whatever. It's about time, isn't it? I mean, possibly needed to find some way to reconcile this seeming impossibility.
I don't think there's anything impossible about the sky at all. I think that we just don't have all the information in terms of, independently mapping, measuring distances across the oceans to get the correct layout of the continents, for example. So again, it's like if people are going to go from authorities, like we mentioned before, the United States intelligence agencies that released this WGS-84, their oblate spheroid, which they claim is what the Earth is. So you can go off any authority, but if you're going to try to do something independent, we just don't independently have that information yet to be able to put the whole picture together. So I don't think there's anything impossible about reality. Otherwise, it wouldn't be reality. Because reality is possible because it's real. Reality is real. It has the word real in it.
Yeah, but just these counter-rotational sun circles are impossible to explain.
Well, you just explained them. So how is it impossible if you just explain two rotational sun circles? How is that impossible if you just did it?
To explain.
They're two circles.
I just said it. I didn't explain them.
Well,
They're impossible to explain.
Well, it's just an observation, though. We can't go there and get a sample. So you're explaining the observation. You did it.
No, you just
all we can do is
about the sun circles.
Yeah, all we can do is observe it. Therefore, you've explained what we observe. That's the extent of
that's
what
not
we
an
can do.
explanation.
Well, unless you can get up there and get samples, or open up the door to see behind it. Unless we can do that, all we can do is observe it, and we can explain what we observe.
Well, it's impossible to explain, though. That's the thing. You might imagine that you're explaining it, but you're not actually explaining it.
Well, I'm suggesting that you just explained it. If you're saying 2 rotations of what you observe, that's the limit of what
I say it's impossible to explain the 2 counter-rotational sun circles. I can't explain how you can stand in this position and watch the sun circle clockwise and then go to another position and watch the sun circle anti-clockwise. I can't explain how that happens. I can't explain how you make that transition from one to the other. I don't have the ability to do that. I know it's been seen. I don't think anybody can explain it. Or take you on a journey from one to the other with explanation. Not possible. Now, nobody's moaning about it, as far as I can see.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, but if it were to be explained, if that's the word you're using for what you're describing, wouldn't that include having the correct map and to say, hey, here's the map and here's the stars together, and how the stars lay out over the ground? If you want the full picture, the whole model.
I wouldn't, like I say, I wouldn't know how to explain it.
What about if you're standing on a ball and on one side you look up, and when you're standing on the other side of it, you're actually looking down, even though you feel like you're looking up. But it's all relative. There, explained.
I put a link for Elder and Bev. I don't understand what your problem is, guys. I went for the Space Busters or whatever it was, his video as well. I think the animations, I feel like the animations, the animation.
He's messed up the animation. Let's tell him.
Yeah, this guy's going to talk relativity. He's got a relativity story. The guy that just jumped in before.
Yeah, well, the flat earthers thought that they made a mistake with the CGI when they had the sun going anti-clockwise. It's that similar sort of thing, like a. I guess there's only Space Busters that would be able to explain that. I mean, they should take the video down and put an apology out, shouldn't they, or something? Or, at least change the sun from going anti-clockwise.
Yeah, and all sorts of stuff happens during video. All sorts of stuff happens during video editing. Like you can absolutely accidentally right-click and reverse clip and all that sort of jazz. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly acceptable, Rixky. If your conclusion is that he's made a mistake, that's what you gathered from it. That's fine. Okay.
I'll go listen to it a little bit more. Like he kept on saying, yeah, the sun was rising in the west. What's going on? I did like a couple of chat GPT questions. What's going on here?
So he said it as well as made a mistake. He made a mistake in saying it and in the image. Double.
Hang on.
Double issue.
Bev, are you there, Bev?
Yeah.
All right, look up and rotate in one direction. Just look up and rotate.
Yeah.
How does everything start to appear to you? Well, like, is everything else moving clockwise or counterclockwise right now as you're rotating and you're looking up?
As I'm rotating.
Yeah, as you're rotating and looking up. What's everything in the room as you're looking up doing? Is it moving counterclockwise or clockwise?
It's not moving. It's like I'm the one that's moving.
Right,
I know
and it
the
appears to
room
be
isn't
moving. Yeah, so the room appears to be moving counterclockwise or clockwise when you're rotating.
The room doesn't
when you're
appear to
looking
be moving at all. I know that I'm moving.
Can you just actually, you won't engage in the you won't engage in this? You just won't do it?
There's no need for me to apparently think the room's doing anything. It's not. I know that.
Yeah, I understand that. Which way, but like as you're spinning, like what does it appear to be doing? What does it look like it's doing? Like just actually engage.
It looks like it's staying still.
Jeez.
So
if you turn your body
Because I know I'm moving.
I get it. You're not going to engage.
I don't know what you want me to engage with. I am engaging.
No, you're not.
These guys.
What am I meant to be doing, right? What am I meant to be saying? Like
having the conversation.
Yeah, what's the problem? He said he's not moving. It does not look like he's moving. That's valid. It's not moving to him. So go from there. That's a valid answer. It's not moving. He's moving. He said he knows he's moving. What's the problem?
I mean, you had a big old sigh there, but it's exactly what I asked you the other day, and you couldn't explain it either.
I mean, this is what Bev does, though. He only engages as far as he knows where he can be proven wrong. Like that's why he says
reality, mate.
That's why he says he's not a flat earther. But then if you ask him his level,
Dude, don't go to a bunch of personal stuff. Don't do that. Hold on. Don't make me mute you. Just hold on for a second. Don't go to a bunch of personal stuff. We're asking Bev that question. Bev said he knew that you were saying it looks like it's moving. He said, no, it's not, that he's moving. Why don't you just move forward from there? Bev's response is that he knew he was moving in your example and that the environment was not. Go from there and at least ask another question, or can we continue from there?
Okay. Granted that the room is not actually moving. When you are rotating yourself and you look up, right, there's things that are either going to appear to be going clockwise or anti-clockwise, right? Which, depending on which way you're rotating.
Yeah, all dependent on me knowing that I'm rotating.
Yeah, exactly. You know that you're rotating, and you look up. Depending on which way you're rotating, everything's either moving clockwise or
It's not
anti-clockwise
moving.
from that center. Yes, it appears to be. It gives you that illusion, like
No,
actually
to me, it
engage.
doesn't.
Are you just not going to engage?
I'm going to tell you now. To me, it doesn't look like the room is moving because I know that I'm the
Yes.
one moving.
Yes, and I already said
I
that.
can't transpose that motion that I'm doing to the room that I'm in. Not even apparently.
So this is what I'm saying. Like he just won't engage. The same way he says he's not a flat
I can't
earther.
see whatever
But then when you
it
ask him, is level horizontal? He says yes, level is
Hey, you just
horizontal
got told not to do this. Why are you doing it again?
because he's not engaging.
Well, when he stood looking at the ceiling, what's moving?
Dude, the thing is, he actually
I'm
wasn't
not saying
engaging.
I'm not
bro.
saying the ceiling is
Hold on,
actually
dude.
moving. I'm just saying like
Just to be clear, Bev was engaging. You were the one who stopped and kept saying he's not engaging, even though he was. Just to be
he's
clear.
not.
He was answering all your questions. Maybe he didn't answer them the way you wanted, but that he's answering them and it's logical. So really, the burden's on you.
Okay. Let me see if I can explain this. You have two clocks. One's on your ceiling, right? And one's on your floor. You follow so far? Bev?
Yeah, 2 clocks.
Yeah, one on the floor, one on the ceiling, right? You follow?
Yeah.
Okay. You look up at the one on the ceiling and you count the numbers like as you like are spinning yourself, right? And as long as that clock on the bottom is also like has the numbers in line with that, when you look down, what's gonna happen? If they're facing the same way.
What, the clocks are facing the same way, or am I looking at the faces of both of the clocks?
The clocks are facing the same way.
So I'm looking at the back of one of the clocks.
Yeah, dude, I don't think I mean, in terms of, I don't know what you're getting at, but just reiterating the spherical model is not.
Okay, so basically what I'm getting at is when you look up and you spin in the same and spin in one direction, everything's going to be like rotating the opposite way that you're spinning. And then when you look down, it's the same thing, but like you have one when you look up, you're going to be either seeing clockwise or anti-clockwise, and when you look down, you're going to be seeing the opposite of that. There you go.
Nonsense, but well done.
You call it nonsense, but it's just reality.
I don't think anybody could follow what we're just saying then, but
I think people can. Maybe
I can follow it.
I think most people can. Yeah.
I can surely follow it.
Well, can you summarize it for us then?
Yeah, if you're spinning in the same direction and you look up, everything
No, I was
appears to
about
be
the guy
either
that can
clockwise
follow
or
it.
anti-clockwise. And when you look down, if you're spinning in that same direction, it's just going to look exactly opposite of whichever way you look up, depending on which way you're rotating.
It's what I earlier said that clockwise and counterclockwise is a visual rotation, and from the east to the west it's a physical rotation, depicting a physical rotation. So, and I hear everybody constantly mixing them up, and that's dishonest. And he
Enlighten us then. Enlighten us.
by pointing those clocks in the same direction, a kind of a see-through clock, because it's an imaginable concept, and imagination is much more profound than all this talks about models. It makes sense. It makes sense in a very profound way.
The clock model is more profound. Is that what you're saying?
Has he laid it out that both point at the same direction, and you don't have to imagine real physical clocks, just clocks where you can see through to understand the concept of what he is saying.
Yeah, but that would have to extrapolate into 2 different suns.
It extrapolates in 2 directions, viewing directions.
You're going to have to place them opposite, aren't you? Because what you're doing is look at the face of one clock and the back of another clock. And you're moving. The clocks aren't moving. You're moving. It's like if you look at the front of the car, you see the front number plate. If you look at the back of the car, you see the back number plate.
That kind of explanation already shows that you don't understand the concept. Thank you. I am not.
Yeah, I think when you go to the other pole, you're actually going underneath the planet, I guess. That's what he thinks. And there's this flat horizontal level, but you just have to go onto the other side of the planet, like the other flat side. There's the South Pole, I guess, for Bev.
Yeah, but on a planar Earth, where you've got your head in the center of the circle of the sun, in one place it goes clockwise, the other place it goes anti-clockwise.
Yeah, and if you're standing on a ball, that makes perfect sense. That's spinning. Makes perfect sense.
You always have to be on top of the ball. Always. That's why it's impossible to explain, isn't it?
No, it's not.
can be a good way to see it. Like if he's referring to something like this, like another way is like, if you have like a screwdriver and you're looking at it from the top down and you go like, to the right makes it tighter, to the left makes it looser, clockwise and counterclockwise. But if you were to actually go like on the other side, 180 degrees, and look the other way at the screwdriver, it would be reversed, the clockwise and counterclockwise, because you're looking at it from the other way. So like through the window kind of idea is what I was linking what you're saying to, if that's what you're saying.
So underneath, antipodal planes, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so what I thought of when Witzer was saying it, so you're standing on the ground, looking up at the sky, and you see it rotating one way. But then to be on the other side of the window, you'd have to be in space, looking down from the backside of the stars to see them rotate the other way.
I mean, if the stars drop due to perspective, then I guess that would be the case. It is kind of trippy. You look out at the sky at night, and the stars that are above your head look like they're straight out. Yeah.
The fact that it's impossible to explain makes it a little bit tricky, doesn't it?
I don't know. Is it possible to explain now? Maybe.
Nothing in reality will ever be impossible to explain, because if you can explain it and explain that it is real or how it's real, if that's how you're using explain, then real is the base word of reality. So it could never be impossible if it's in reality. Although in this case, it's in the sky. That, like I said before, it's really just an observation. We can't go up there to touch it or get any tangibility. Therefore, you can explain it, because as long as you explain the observation, you're explaining the extent of what we can do, which is observe it.
Well, I would say that you require faith for the things that you can't explain. So if you say that there's nothing that fits that category, then
Yeah, but are you invoking faith that there's going to be order and uniformity to the things that you see in reality? Is that the faith that it's going to be orderly and for a reason?
faith's necessary for where there's no proof, right?
Now, faith is like I have faith that my car will be in the driveway because the sun will rise the next day because of the uniformity of nature, because of the repeatability and the organization that's happened prior. So I have a belief, a faith in that repetition.
Has the car thief got anything to do with the sun or anything?
Which probably has something to do with me leaving my keys in every car that I own. I just leave them in the cup holder.
Nothing to do with anything outside of it, then, just you.
Well, what I'm saying is faith isn't just unjustified belief. Faith is like a justification that something that occurs will continue to occur. A repeatability, right? An organization, an order. So like when Gio was saying nothing is unexplainable because there's always an order to the universe or the world. That would be the case. And I have faith that there's organization to the world, so we could eventually figure it out.
Have you worked out the relationship of the order to you leaving your keys in the car and the percentage on when it's likely to be stolen or not? So you're happy to leave key?
Yeah, I think I'll get more from the insurance company than for the car.
Yeah. So that's the metric of your order.
It says faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
You seen a globe?
Yeah, but how can you have faith in something not seen? That's like how big a paradox.
The conviction of things not seen.
Yeah, how can you be convicted or have faith in something you don't know about? That's like that you have no
the
idea.
The assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
Well, I mean, we can get deeper into that at some point. But yeah, just in regards to the faith, like faith would be just again based on things that you have seen. Whether like you're saying, listen, I've seen a pattern. I mean, that's not actually something you're seeing, or like I see the interaction of like an object falling through the sky. You're seeing an interaction. So. But that's not something physical. A law, like you're watching a law, but it's not something.
You don't think it still takes faith to think the sun will rise tomorrow?
Yeah, but this is just besides the point, kind of.
Is the sun rising, or are you turning, mate?
Doesn't matter. It's insurance company will step in.
I had a thought about it, Bev. I can see what you're pointing at. I don't even know how to actually describe this to you to resolve the issue that I think that you're having. The sun appears to rotate in the opposite direction because it's still going like essentially behind you when you're going to the south. But if you maintain that sort of heading of north, you're facing north and you're just pointing up at the sky where the sun is, and it's still going in that clockwise direction. But in order to follow the sun, you've got to turn, like your hand goes behind you, but it's still going clockwise.
If you were with Jerem, where Jerem was, right, you could face any direction, couldn't you? And the sun would still circle you anti-clockwise, no matter which place you were facing, north, south, east, or west. It doesn't make any difference.
No, it just goes
same as when you go north, right? You can face any direction, and the sun will still circle you Clockwise.
It's just it's an optical phenomenon. The sky is the globular aspects. You're transposing down onto the ground. In order to follow the sun when you're in the south, because it still goes behind you, yeah, you got to go. Far out, I misspoke. Anti-clockwise. My apologies. You got to go anti-clockwise to follow the sun. So yeah, but if you're looking at the point around the center point around where the sun is actually rotating, which is the north, right? If you're facing Polaris, it's still going clockwise in that direction.
Would you say the sun is circling the north when you're in the south, looking at the South Pole? It would feel weird to say this must be circling something, because it feels, it looks like it's circling you, from those videos. It'd be weird to say, oh, this is circling a point that is, 10,000 miles away.
Yeah, I can still resolve it by basically putting myself inside of a snow dome and just recognizing that the sun is in an apparent position depending on my position on the within that snow dome. And because of the nature of refraction, like it still goes in behind. Like when you're in the south, it's still going behind you. I think it's